Hi, my name is Chioma, founder and creative director of Gloria Co, and this is my creative story. So I am a program manager and a researcher at a not-for-profit in Nigeria, and as I was getting older, I began to wonder about appearances, right? Whether in the workplace or in your daily lives, how appearances constitute a lot to how you are perceived in the society. So I decided to take this course on styling, and I figured out my personal style. But as I kept on scrolling through Instagram and like websites to shop, I didn't see something that matched my skin tone, that was made for me. A lot of things were too flashy, had dramatic silhouettes, and yes, as Nigerians we're a little bit dramatic, but I didn't want that. And considering I was a corporate professional, it was really hard for me to kind of shop for some of all those things. And for some of them, when you buy it and get home, it wouldn't be your fit, right? It wouldn't be your style. Not because there's anything wrong with the clothes, but because it wasn't my body shape, right? I had learned that in the styling course, so I could figure out why the clothes I was buying were looking as good on me as they were looking on the models, right? So I said, what if I initially started by sharing tips on, considering I'm also pro wellness and I have a disposition to natural fabrics. I started initially the page and the brand by sharing some of my thoughts on what to shop for when you're buying linen fabrics, what to wear, especially for our tropics weather that is hot, whether even in the rainy season, what to wear out, how to store your linen fabrics, because those were the things I was shopping. But after some time, I decided that what if I launched my first collection, right? And I did, and surprisingly, a lot of good things happened after that. And from then, this is where we have Gloria Co today. So I think that because I am a corporate person in research, in finance, and I design programs in my daily life, for me, launching my first fashion brand, I don't know if I had any expectations. I genuinely don't know. When I initially launched, I think after the first day, the second day, someone reached out to me that they wanted to list the products on an international marketplace. I was like, really? I was like, what is it about the products that you really wanted to list there? But I think that from there and all the amazing success, that has inspired me to focus on the craft. And every day when there are even challenges, and I go back to say that people recognize it, I know how it's easy for us to kind of minimize what we're doing. But when you see how people perceive the brand, the accolades and the reach of the brand, and I'm like, okay, I have to pay attention to what is actually happening here. I would say that I start with functionality, and also considering after the first year of business, I've been able to kind of see what people shop and how they shop, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I love pop-ups, right? Pop-ups are kind of experimentations. People go for different reasons. Why go for experimentations? It helps you see what people are buying, and most times you can ask them why they are buying it and for what they are buying it for. I typically start my creative process with functionality. Where do I want someone to wear this piece to? What should the person feel when they wear the piece? And how do I want people to perceive them? Because yes, you dress for yourself, that's the first thing, but you also dress because you are signaling something to your society, to people around you, and to people that will see you. So how do I also want people to perceive them, when they wear the dress? That's typically where I start off with. And I have great ideas sometimes. The limitation of like natural fabrics, you have a boundary, right? There's so much as you can do. It just also means that even though we have all these amazing ideas of what we want to do, there are kind of limitations to that, and that's intentional. We wanted to do that, so we also have that. So the next thing is to choose the right fabrics for the style or whatever that we have chosen to do, or the or the skirt or the jeans or the dress or the gown that we want to do, and we produce that. But one thing is, some of the sample fabrics, when you see it, and yes, there are some samples that never really make it to the launch, because when it comes out, it doesn't come out well. If you look at it in principle, it would have been a synthetic fabric that would have helped that style, right? It's not draping the right way, the neck is not standing well, the zipper is all wrong, and how it's patterned, right? The silhouette is wrong for that. You need a different fabric, right? Most times these are kind of one of the big challenges I face, that the style is good, but that's not the right fabric. The right fabric would have been synthetic, and because I've decided to be natural, to be pro-natural, it means we wouldn't go with that style. But then there are also sometimes that when even you release the piece, you also see what people like, and people kind of make comments, and people kind of reach out, like say, what if we adjusted this? So sometimes also the community or the people that we sell to make contributions to our creative process. I know initially one of the big feedback we received when we started and we're sharing some of the tips, that our collection shouldn't have two pieces, right? I don't think I've ever done a linen two piece, and that's also why, right? People also, the customers and people make contributions, right? Like, so this dress, I love, this is one of the first pieces we launched, and someone came up to me and said they want to wear it, but they want it in other colors, right? Or they wanted the hands to be a bit wider, or they wanted, yes, their customers also make contributions to our creative process. And yes, most times we don't take our customers suggestions towards because you also want to maintain a particular thing about the brand, a particular thing about the dress, right? So there's also that, but most times our customers also make input into what the final piece would look like. I would say the first challenge is, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a fashion person, and probably I didn't see myself as a fashion person. Well, girls, we love clothes, but I never saw myself kind of designing or owning a fashion brand. So I think one of the first challenges, I don't know if anyone has said it here, is self-doubt, right? Every day I keep wondering, like, should I be doing this? I'm a professional, like, there's some other things I should be doing, that what of this, right? So I think that the mindset, and because I've also worked with research and I've seen the data around businesses, I've seen the data about women-owned businesses. Yes, they are likely to be successful and thrive and all those things, but they are not the founders or the founders' mindset, especially in the starting phase, has a strong implication on if that business will be successful, right? So I battled with that a lot starting off. How I'm navigating it, I'm not sure I have gotten there yet, but I would say to remind yourself that you are allowed to make mistakes, right? You are allowed to give yourself grace, and you just continue the process. As long as you don't quit, you will find the right thing for you, right? You will find the right customers, you will find the right community to build the type of brand you want to build, as long as you don't quit halfway through the journey. The second thing I also say is finding the right team. Even how fashion brands are created, yes, they are creative businesses, but they are businesses, and for every business you need the right team. And early on in the business, I think, and even throughout now, you need the right people. And yes, most times the right people, there are things with hiring the best persons, which is that they want you to pay more, and which is valid, right? Because they're coming with experience. Is also that if they're not going to be paid more, they want to work with established brands, because that helps in their resume, right? So those are some of the nitty-gritty. How are we navigating that? We are yeah, so most times for some of these quality people, work with them on a short-term basis. They are not in-house into the brand, but they can work with us on projects, on campaigns, and that's how we're navigating the right team. And I think the other third thing is international logistics. African market is getting a lot of good PR these days, which also means that people outside Africa want to shop African brands. But most times the pricing, and I think someone have put up that video somewhere, that we need to disrupt the logistics market, because it's not, you can buy an item from Nigeria for $50, but the shipping is also $50. People are likely not to buy that item. It's not that there's anything wrong with your piece, it's just that the cost of the logistics is more. I think we've not had enough conversation on the issue that delivery prices is why people don't buy. It's not necessarily the cost of the item, it's the cost of delivering the item. So I think that is, some of the challenges. How are we navigating that? I don't think we have solved or navigated that yet. We see something we battle with. One way that we also kind of trying to work around these issues is by pop-ups, right? Pop-ups are good opportunities for people in those countries to come and shop for us. So you see us in pop-ups across either Africa or Europe or UK. We're always trying to participate in pop-ups. So if you see anything you like and you're following us on our page, you will know when we're coming to your city and you come and shop. So that is one way we're navigating that, but that's still a huge challenge, right, in fashion business. I would say fashion design icons across the years. I would also say that I started fashion, or I even had the nudge to start up a fashion business because of Oscar de la Renta. And there's this piece on my Instagram page about how I saw, I think it's Katy Perry that wore it for I think it was the Met Gala in 2000s, and I tried to recreate that outfit. Mine looks shabby, true, but that was even what piqued my interest in fashion. And when I watch this people's documentary and I watch their life and I watch how they think about and this is because I have not been part of this industry for a long time, so I have kind of a curiosity mindset. I've loved Oscar de la Renta for the longest time, but also as I listen and learn about their lives and how they design clothes, Tom Ford, Ralph Lauren, I think that impacts how I also approach my design. That impacts when I listen to how they speak, how they design, and who they design for, and their intention behind designing collections or pieces. That has also influenced how the approach or the lens I take towards designing my pieces. So I would say that's who influences me the most, especially in my creative journey. I think that in terms of what I think nature, I've also restrained from trying to do a lot of like prints, but I think nature and flower arrangement actually influences some of the things that we're also working on recently. Yes, and you would see that ties closely with Oscar de la Renta. So yeah. Say the international pop-ups and the international fashion shows. So for some of these pop-ups we get to do fashion shows, and that's commendable. And I will also preface this with someone who has been just in this industry for less than a year, and we have done so much, right? And I think that's one of the proudest moments for me. I did one of the fashion shows in Nigeria in Lagos, I think it was July last year. And that was the first time experiencing that, and that was a proud moment for me. So I think every creative person should take it's a project that you work on, and then you decide if you want to continue to do it, right? But it is something that gives you a different type of feeling, right? So seeing your pieces on the wrong way, whether in Nigeria or outside the country, it gives you a different feeling, right? I think that's one of the proudest moments for me. So the first thing is this, and maybe it's also because of my background: give yourself room to figure out, and give yourself opportunity to figure out, the right person to design for, the right silhouettes to have, the right idea that you should work on. And most times you figure that out in the first 5 years. Have in the tech space we call it having a startup mindset. You are iterating and figuring out what works for you. And yes, in that season, people are going to come with their ideas and like, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Give yourself room. And I think that's what I did in first year of business. I did a lot of things, right? Even the fashion shows, and then I figured that doesn't work for me. Or if I wanted to do it, this is how I would do it. But give yourself room to figure out the best thing that works for you. Even when it comes to creating pieces, you have to create so much that when you figure out the one that sells most, that's what you double down on. And yes, that is painful because you are creating things that you're not going to sell. You're creating things that nobody will buy, and you're creating things that maybe look weird, right? So I think you should. One thing I've noticed with big brands or brands that have become successful is that they try a lot of stuff in the beginning phase, and when they figure out what works for them, they hide those other parts of the brand, those other parts of the business. I did it, right? And you will do that. So try out, give yourself grace, give yourself room to try, experiment, right? To experiment as much as possible, to or through take lessons from everywhere, do a lot of things, and then when you figure out what works for you, you double down. So give yourself grace, give yourself that room, and don't put yourself under unnecessary pressure. I say this, that you are the only one allowed to pressure yourself. Don't let other people pressure you. Fun fact about me is I love movies, all forms of movies, so not all forms of movies. I love movies, and some movies or some design sets or movie sets or the movie dressing of movies most times inspire some collections, inspire some pieces, or inspire why we did whatever we did in different seasonal collections. I see Gloria Co being an established brand globally, loved by various women across different countries, different cultures, and different body types, different undertones. That's where I see Gloria Co in the next 5 years. Thank you. My name is Chioma from Gloria Co. See you.
Creative Stories by Calabar Fashion Week. Capturing the voices, journeys, and impact of creatives shaping the future. Proudly powered by Phronesis Fashion World.